call this meeting of the Littleton Board of Adjustment to order for July 16th, 2020. Board Member Browning.
Present.
Board Member Jenna.
Present.
Board Member Holland. Catherine, you're muted.
Try again. Present.
Thank you. Board Member Hummer is absent this evening. Board Member Madrid.
Present.
Board Member Mitchell.
Present.
And Board Member Wolven.
Present.
We have a quorum. I am Colleen Norton. I'm the city clerk, and I will be your moderator this evening. Good evening, board members, staff, citizens. I'm hearing some feedback, Tyler.
We need someone to mute.
Okay, let's try this again. Good evening, board members, staff, citizens, and guests. I'm Colleen Norton, city clerk, and I'll be serving as your moderator this evening for the virtual meeting of the Board of Adjustment. We're streaming this meeting live on cable channel 8, on Facebook, and on our website, littletongov.org. Please be aware that comments left on Facebook Live will not be moderated and will not be included as part of our meeting minutes. Those wishing to participate in any public portion of the meeting, for instance, public comment or a public hearing, you're advised to view the meeting at littletongov.org, Littleton Channel 8 TV. This broadcast has the least amount of delay. The agenda this evening will be handled in the same way it would be handled for a regular in-person meeting. As always, citizen participation is encouraged during public comment and public hearing. To participate via phone, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter the webinar ID 932-4988-9109. There will be two opportunities this evening for public participation, once during public comment and again during our public hearing. Microphones will be muted for all citizens calling in. Citizens can press *9 when prompted to raise their hand to be recognized to speak. Once recognized, speakers will have 3 minutes to address the board. The city clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. We expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior, will not be tolerated. For agenda items, the chair will ask for a motion and a second, followed by discussion and a vote. Vote on agenda items this evening will be conducted using a thumbs up for a yes vote and a thumbs down for a no vote. The clerk will call each vote with all ayes and nays. This evening, we are going to start, as this is our first meeting since we have appointed a new board member. Welcome, Board Member Wolven. Board Member Mitchell has moved up from alternate 1 to a regular board member position. Board Member Holland has moved up from alternate 2 to alternate 1, and Board Member Wolven is now alternate 2. At this point, I would like to call for nominations for board chair. Not a motion, just nominations at this point. Do I have any nominations for board chair?
I would like to nominate Mike Madrid.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any other nominations? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to appoint Mike Madrid as board chair.
I move that Mike Madrid be chair of the Building Board of Adjustment for the following year up through April of 2021.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Don. Board Member Mitchell has moved and Board Member Jenna has seconded to appoint Mike Madrid as board chair. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to say? Do you have any issues with that?
No, not at all. Thank you guys again for all of your time that you spend here on the board. I know, especially these times and trying to connect in Zoom and do these distance meetings, it can be difficult. So I do appreciate everyone's time and their want to be part of the process in their city. So and welcome to Board Member Wolven.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Let's go ahead and take a vote. A thumbs up is a yes vote to appoint Mike Madrid. A thumbs down would be a no. Go ahead and vote now, please. The vote is unanimous. Mike Madrid is our board chair. We'll go through the same process for vice chair. Do I have any nominations for vice chair? Catherine?
I'd like to nominate Dave Mitchell for vice chair for the coming year.
Okay. Do I have any other nominations?
I would also like to nominate Donald Jenna.
Okay. Okay, do I have, would Board Member Mitchell and Board Member Jenna like to say anything?
Yes, thank you for the nomination, and I would be more than willing to serve as vice chair.
Don?
Okay, thanks for the nomination also. I've been vice chair here for the last year. I'd like to continue on and appreciate any support you have.
Okay, at this time, we will look for a motion to appoint Dave Mitchell.
I'll make the appointment to appoint, or the motion to appoint Dave Mitchell as vice chair.
Do I have a second?
A second?
Okay, so how this works, since we do have two nominees, we will take a vote on this one. And if there are enough votes to carry, then it ends there. If there aren't, then we would do a motion and a second for Mr. Jenna as well, and we would go through this process until we get a vice chair. So at this time, with a motion and a second to appoint Dave Mitchell as vice chair, I would ask all board members to vote with a thumbs up for a yes and a thumbs down for a no. Please vote now. I have 3 in favor of and 3 opposed. I guess we can try, let's go ahead and do a motion and a second for Dawn.
Move that the board of adjustment appoint Don Jenna as vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second,
And who seconded that?
Browning.
Thank you. Just one moment. I'm answering our city attorney on something. At this point, we'll go ahead and vote. We have a vote and a motion and a second for Don Jenna. Again, thumbs up is a yes, thumbs down is a no. Go ahead and vote now. I have 4 votes in favor for Don Jenna. The motion carries. Don, congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll look forward to another good year.
At this point, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Chair Madrid, and he can take it from here.
All right, thank you very much, Colleen. To start off this hearing, this is the hearing for Thursday, July 16th, 2020 for the Board of Adjustment of the City of Littleton. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda itself. Does anyone have any changes to the agenda tonight?
No.
Okay, good to see everyone. So seeing none, I guess we'll just go off of what I could see here. And the agenda will be approved for tonight. That moves us to the next item on our agenda, which is the minutes from our last meeting, which was February 20th, 2020. Did anyone have any changes to make on the February 20th, 2020 BOA minutes for the City of Littleton?
No.
Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I move that the minutes would be approved.
I didn't see who said that, but we do have a motion.
David Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second from Vice Chair Jenna. So we have a motion and a second. Are we doing a thumbs up, thumbs down vote for this as well, Colleen?
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So if everyone can indicate for the approval of the minutes for February 20th at this time.
Dave,
And I see.
the motion carries unanimously.
Great. And I'll hand it back to Colleen for public comment, so we could go over how public comment will be handled for tonight on Zoom, as this is an opportunity to talk about anything that is not on tonight's agenda. So, Colleen.
Thank you, Chair Madrid. If you wish to address the Board of Adjustment under public comment, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter webinar ID 932-4988-9109. Then press *9 to be recognized. Citizen microphones will be automatically muted until the citizen is called upon to speak by the last 3 digits of their phone number. When called on to speak, please state your name and district or address clearly for the record. Public comment is an opportunity to express opinions or to ask questions regarding issues that are not part of public hearings on tonight's agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. The city clerk will notify you when you have 30 seconds remaining, and again when your time is up. The board is not authorized by the Colorado Open Meetings Law to discuss, comment, or take action at the meeting on any issue raised by public comment that is not part of tonight's agenda. Again, we expect comments to be civil. Disrespectful or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Chair, we currently have 1 caller in the queue for public comment. The caller with the last 3 phone number digits of 819 is the first in line. Caller, you have been unmuted. Please begin speaking now.
Hello, Board of Adjustment. My name is Pam Chadbourne. I live in District 1, a block from the city center. In the middle of the downtown area, by the way, that's up for review right now, in which I object to wholly in its entirety. First, I'd like to welcome the new member and thank you all for your service on this board. It's a very important board and I respect your work. Second of all, I had a comment about the minutes that you've already approved, unfortunately, and an interesting thing about our agenda order is that it doesn't allow public comment before the approval of the minutes, and so those of us who might want to request a change to the minutes can't speak about that for your consideration. So let me say what I would like to say about those minutes. On them, the public speakers, there were 2 of us, were indicated by name only. And I'm going to ask you to request the writer of the minutes to always include for public speakers our subject, our stand on the topic, and the summary of our rationale and what we're asking for. So when members of the public take their time to come and speak, we get nothing for it. You are volunteers, but at least you get a vote. Those of us who come for public comment get nothing except 3 minutes. So the least that the city could provide in the minutes is a record of what we spoke about, what we had a stand on, what we wanted for it, what we asked you for, and a summary of our rationale. So I have that request for your consideration in the future, and that's what I had for public comment. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Pam. I will say, going to your comment about the minutes, that all of the Board of Adjustment meetings for the City of Littleton are videotaped. So if someone were to read the minutes and wanted to see more in depth of what was said during a certain part, they could always review the video as well. Just as a heads up to anyone listening right now who may have the same concerns, the city does keep, including tonight's meeting, which is on Zoom, which is being recorded and is televised on Littleton 8 right now, is available for viewing after each meeting.
Thank you, Chair. We have no other callers in the queue.
No other callers. Okay, so we will close public comment tonight at 6:45 for anything not on tonight's agenda. Under general business, next item on our agenda, we have nothing, so we will move directly onto our public hearing. We have one case tonight, and I will have Colleen explain again how citizens can get involved in this process.
Thank you, Chair Madrid. Again, citizens wishing to speak during the public hearing, please call 669-900-6833, and when prompted, enter the webinar ID 932-4988-9109. Once on the line, please press *9 to raise your hand to be recognized. Speakers will have 3 minutes to address the board on this topic after the staff presentation. Board Madrid.
Thank you again. So we'll be moving on to our one and only item on tonight's public hearing, which is BOA Resolution 03-2020, approving a sign variance for shift workspaces at 2679 West Main Street. This is case number VAR 20-0001. At this point, we will start with staff presentation, move into the applicant's presentation, and then continue on into the public comment portion of this case specifically. So staff, we have Elizabeth K. Marchetti, senior planner for the City of Littleton. Go ahead and take it away.
Chairman Madrid, this is Mike Sutherland, the Deputy Director of Community Development. Let's see, I hope Elizabeth K. Marchetti is here, our Senior Planner, to give the presentation.
I am. Can you not see me
good.
or hear me?
No,
yes.
We can hear you now.
Okay, good.
I can't see any video.
No, I'm presenting from my computer. So I am going to walk everyone through the presentation, the staff presentation right now. So I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, I don't know about any of the other board members or anyone else in the meeting right now. I cannot see a presentation right now.
Okay.
Am I the only one, or can anyone else see it?
I can't see it either.
Let's see. How's
here we
that?
go.
Oh, here we go.
It is.
Here we
Okay,
go.
we're in.
Okay, we're up and running.
Ms. Marchetti, take it away.
All right, thank you so much. So good evening, members of the Board of Adjustment. My name is Elizabeth K. Marchetti. I'm a senior planner with the City of Littleton, and I'm the project planner of the sign variance request being heard tonight. The request before you is for approval of a sign variance at 2679 West Main Street. That would allow a third floor wall sign on the western wall of the structure to be internally illuminated from dusk until dawn. This presentation will begin with a summary of the application and an explanation of the proposed internally lit sign. We'll then cover the sign variance approval criteria and staff's analysis of this request. The presentation will wrap up with a statement of staff's recommendation to the board for action to take this evening. This aerial photo is from 2016, and it shows the location and dimension of the previous building at 2679 West Main Street. Unfortunately, there is no good, or any that I could find, aerial photography of the current structure. So we're going with this. The yellow oval generally indicates the location of the new building, which was constructed in 2017. at 2679 West Main Street. The area covered by light gray hatch lines is zoned B2 Business Community District with a planned development overlay. The darker red areas are zoned CA Central Area, and the light red areas are zoned B2 Business Community District. The building is also located within Sub-Area 7 of the Downtown Littleton Design Standards, so it must comply with both the City Code and the Downtown Littleton Design Standards. While this building is located within the boundary of the historic Main Street District, it is a non-contributing structure. The front of the building faces Main Street, and the western wall of the building faces Santa Fe Drive. The intent of this sign is to reach the travelers along Santa Fe Drive. According to section 10-17-6-5 of the City Sign Code, which governs land that is zoned business, which this is, the proposed sign is in fact smaller than what the code allows. Using the formulas set forth in 10-17-6-5, subparagraph D1, the proposed sign could be no more than 172 square feet. This sign being discussed tonight is only 141 square feet, 31 square feet smaller than permitted by code. Section 10-17-6-5, subparagraph D1, allows each use by right in a building with more than one user, which this is, to measure each horizontal linear foot of that portion of the building occupied by that user to calculate sign size. The formula directs a business to total up the amount of frontage occupied by the use and then divide by 1.5 to determine the maximum sign size. This slide shows the math used based on Shift Workspace's occupancy of 26 linear feet of ground floor, 116 feet 3 inches of second floor, and 116 feet 3 inches of third floor frontage. The proposed design, except for the aspect of nighttime illumination, complies with the City Sign Code. This image of the western side wall of the building shows that Main Street is at the south end of the building. The majority of the western facade faces land closest to it, which is used as a driveway and automobile parking for other businesses. The 141 square foot wall sign will be centered on the western wall at the top of the third floor, approximately 76 feet away from the south or front face of the building and Main Street. The sign is 40 feet 3 inches long, 3 feet 6 inches tall, and 38 feet above the ground. Littleton Downtown Design Standards number 4.2.1 and 4.5.7 prohibit wall signs located on the side of a building and that are above the second floor from being illuminated. The purpose of this sign variance request is to allow the sign to be illuminated from dusk until dawn. This image illustrates the expected appearance of the sign lit at night from the perspective of the ground a little bit north of the Main Street sidewalk, which is perpendicular to the western wall of the building. The sign is integrated with the architecture and preserves the aesthetics of the building by locating at the top of the wall instead of across material changes between the second and third floor. The logo and font avoid contemporary or dramatically modern designs. This image also conveys how the western wall of the building is reset approximately 20 feet behind the front facade of the building, further distancing this facade and the sign from the Main Street experience. This image illustrates the expected appearance of the sign lit at night from the perspective of the closest northbound lane of Santa Fe Drive. This image illustrates the expected appearance of the sign lit at night from the perspective of the farthest southbound lane of Santa Fe Drive. This aerial photograph of the building under construction shows, according to an approximate measure using Google Maps, that the western wall of the building is 1,226 feet away from the nearest residences with a view of that wall. The potential for this sign to disturb area residences at night is very low. Oops, sorry. The intent of this sign is to reach the travelers on Santa Fe Drive, and this image illustrates how much farther away from the closest and farthest lanes of Santa Fe Drive the western wall is compared to the western wall of the Melting Pot restaurant. The proposed wall sign is approximately 200 feet away from the closest northbound lane, whereas the Melting Pot's wall sign is approximately 10 feet away from the closest northbound lane. The proposed wall sign is approximately 300 feet away from the farthest southbound lane, whereas the Melting Pot's wall sign is approximately 120 feet away from the farthest southbound lane. Shift Workspaces has to express its message across a much farther distance than any other business at this intersection. If not illuminated, this sign is likely to be invisible to nighttime travelers. The special circumstances in this case is that the most prominent facade of the building where Shift Workspaces operates, which has the greatest potential to be seen by the most people, is the side that faces Santa Fe Drive. A 200-foot setback from the nearest heavily traveled road is significantly greater than any other business in the vicinity with a prominent facade that faces Santa Fe Drive. The sign will not be visible at night, as the other area businesses' signs are, if not illuminated. The other businesses at this intersection of Santa Fe Drive, Littleton Boulevard, and Rapp Street all have illuminated signs at or slightly above the ground floor level. All of the other businesses are in older, smaller structures that are at most 2 stories high. There is no sign clutter at this intersection. The design of the sign and its location above and to the north of the intersection will prevent any clutter from occurring. Allowing the sign to be illuminated and to operate like all other commercial signs that face Santa Fe Drive is a minimum variance from the design standards. The application materials and rationale meet the approval criteria for a sign variance. Staff finds that the application meets the criteria for approval and recommends approval of BOA Resolution 03-2020. Thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
This is Dave Mitchell. I have a couple of questions. The background, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The current code ordinance has been developed over many, many, many years with input from citizens, their representatives, council, etc. If a variation was granted, how would the citizens of the city of Littleton benefit from this?
Shift Workspaces is a new business excited to come to the city of Littleton, and I will certainly let Matt Robertson expound on this further. But allowing Shift Workspaces to advertise as other businesses are allowed to advertise will help that organization to succeed and be a contributing factor to the vibrancy and the economic resilience of downtown Littleton and the community at large.
Okay, and my second question is, what is your definition of neighborhood as it applies to the downtown area of Littleton, this building?
Well,
what's your definition of
are you
neighborhood?
asking her to define the surrounding area, or what specifically?
Well, she's talking about the surrounding neighborhood, and I'm going to ask her what her definition of neighborhood is in this case.
So for lack of a better description, I would default to the boundary of downtown as established by the Downtown Littleton Design Standards, and that's getting, as we speak, reinforced or reaffirmed in the boundary of downtown in the Phase 2 code amendments that are up for public view right now. So it's the affectionately called the football, I would say, that this building is certainly within the downtown neighborhood.
And you believe the neighborhood would benefit from this illuminated sign?
I think the neighborhood would benefit indirectly because of the success of this new business that wants to operate and succeed in Littleton.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions from the board for staff? Ms. Holland.
Yeah, just a couple of quick questions. And you may have defined this, but what did you mean by a non-contributing, I believe, wall or something you referred to as non-contributing? What is that?
So that is a term that is used to describe structures that are located within the boundaries of historic districts.
Oh, okay.
So what we have is a bound. So this building, when the developer was looking to construct it, he opted in to the boundary of the historic downtown district bounds. But since it's technically not a historic structure, it's not considered a contributing structure. It's a term, I believe that's established by the Secretary of State of the United States, the Secretary, that it's part of the terminology used to distinguish between very significant and important historic structures and those that happen to be there, but for various reasons are not significant to the historic integrity of the district.
Great. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Another question is, you referenced the River Point residents, and I realize it's quite a long way and across Santa Fe, but were the River Point residents asked or given the opportunity to provide input on it? I don't know if that would even be a factor, but.
Right. So the way that our regulations are written, the applicant is required to post notification on, there's a sign today at 2679 West Main Street announcing tonight's hearing. Mm-hmm. And in preparation, we notified via our e-tracket system, people are welcome to provide comment and reach out to their elected officials, their appointed officials, and to staff at any time during the process. But for instance, postcards were not mailed directly to that those group of residents. They were not personally invited. No.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I have a comment. I have done more than one site visit. I did a site visit today on my bicycle. I went around the building. I went inside the parking area. I went over to 2679. There's a bank entrance and there's an entrance to this shift business. I went over to the east side of the building where Bradford Auto Body is located, back around. I covered all sides of the building and I did not see a sign noticing this meeting.
The sign was posted at the very front of the building on the side facing Main Street. It's a 11 by 17 sign taped to the inside of the glass so that it didn't get damaged by the elements. And the applicant posted the sign on July 6th per the requirements in order to meet notification requirements for this hearing date.
Okay, I'm not. It's not impossible that I missed it, but I will tell you that I looked for it and didn't see it.
I appreciate that. We have received an affidavit signed by the applicant stating, in fact, that he did post it and he provided signs. There's photographic imagery, photographic proof of the sign having been posted, which we could certainly share with you. If you'd like, I'm happy to follow up and share that with you after the hearing.
Thank you.
Do you have any other board members with questions for staff?
I have a question. When you're talking about having an illuminated sign, does this also take into account the brightness of the sign, like what the lumens are? Is that also discussed in this?
Unfortunately, our older code does not deal other than for street signs that are posted on poles. The term of art that I'm learning, that I'm discovering in the field of sign creation is a measurement of the light through the material that the light is passing through. For the purpose of a sign variant, so our code does not use that method of measuring sign brightness. And for the purpose of a sign variance, the code does not require that an applicant provide what would normally come with a site plan, which is a photometric plan that shows the foot candle measurements at intervals across the entire site. So no, the question about evening illumination is not filtered through measurements of amount of light shed in the evening.
If I may, it is an indirect light source that's shielded by translucent materials, so it wouldn't trigger the glare specifications of the code. It is indirect in that way, so it you wouldn't be viewing the light source directly.
Do we have any other questions for staff?
Yeah, Chair Madrid, I have one more question if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the intent of the code, and this is with respect to 4.5.7 and the basic concept that signs located on a sidewall of a building, for a side property purpose should not have an illuminated sign at that high level. And I want to make sure I understand staff analysis. Because this is facing Santa Fe with no adjacent building, that's one of the main reasons why this sidewall issue really is being looked at in a different way than maybe perhaps what the code states. But I want to just understand the intent of of that 4.5.7, if you don't mind.
Sure. So staff, thank you. That's a great question. Staff has interpreted that language to prevent this sort of a sign from happening right next door, say across an alley, as close as an alley or even closer, with much older buildings in an older downtown like this. There is very real chances for buildings to be incredibly close to each other that our, fire regulations would never allow right now. And so the potential for harm and impact upon a neighbor by a sign like this is very real in circumstances like that. We looked at this structure and looked at the context of this building and the proposed design and the location of the sign being 76 feet north of Main Street and 38 feet above the ground. And the likelihood of the drive aisle that's currently being used by the building, plus the parking that's currently being used by 2 existing businesses, for that land to be redeveloped into a sensitive neighbor is pretty unlikely. So that our analysis reached the conclusion that the nearest potentially disturbed neighbor is 1,226 feet away. So yes, we agree that this regulation makes all the sense in the world when you have buildings that are anywhere less than 30 feet apart from each other. The potential for harm and real negative impact is real. But we thought in this case, given the aerial photo analysis, we felt comfortable suggesting that this sign would neither lead to sign clutter or present or a harm to or detract from either the Main Street experience or nearby residential experience.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Chairman Dritt, I have a question.
Absolutely. Mr. Jenna.
Thank you. In the staff analysis paragraph 2, there's the applicant response basically about the sign is virtually imperceptible from inside the historic the district, which brings visibility not only to the Shift Main Street community, but also to Main Street itself. It would serve as a reminder to those, and here's where my question comes from. It says it would serve as a reminder to those traveling on Santa Fe that historic downtown Littleton is a destination worth visiting, a district that not only contains important historical structures and unique character, but new business and amenities as well. I guess my question is how does this really serve as a reminder to the traveling public on Santa Fe that that Littleton is worthwhile seeing or stopping at?
Well,
this
was the applicant's response. So I will again let Matt Robertson follow up, but I'll take a crack at what I think he was intending. I take that statement to mean that it is Shift Workspace is, as a new tenant and employer choosing to make Littleton its home, that it's another reason to understand. Sorry, we're finishing up dinner upstairs. I don't know if you all heard that. And that downtown Littleton is a vibrant place, that downtown Littleton is not, many people in the region understand downtown Littleton to be a destination. It is a place that attracts people from, market studies are showing that people visit from 10 miles away to come spend particularly weekend evenings and weekend days in downtown Littleton. And downtown Littleton is truly greater than the sum of its parts. that it not only has wonderful, well-known historic structures, and now more recently, a nice variety of high-quality restaurants, but it's also a great place for businesses to locate. It's a great place. It's a place where people want to spend their time. People want to work. Employees want to come here. So that indicates that historic downtown Littleton is not just that. It is a multifaceted, great place that meets the needs of a variety of different people and businesses. I hope that helps.
I believe so. I think Mr. Jenna is muted, but yes, that's. Did you have any other follow-up question? I think Vice Chair Jenna's mute button is. There we go. All right.
Great. Okay, I'm back on. Too many other buttons. I believe that you believe that, and I think the data you're showing that people do come to downtown Littleton. They like Littleton the way it is, and and they've been doing that without the addition or the encouragement or the enhancement of a sign that really advertises a business entity. So I'm not really sure that by adding this, particularly with being lit at night, will enhance the joy or the attractiveness of coming to downtown Littleton. I'm not really sure that this is a real value added aspect. If we're going to allow the sign to be seen during the day, that's one thing. But again, being illuminated at night, I don't think that's really enhancing Littleton. I think it's just enhancing the company.
Vice Chair Jenna, this is we're still trying to get some questions from staff or to staff. We're going to be hearing from the applicant just shortly, and then we can have our deliberation as a board directly after the public has a chance to also weigh in on this as well. I do have a couple questions though before we get to our applicant's presentation. Do we typically in Littleton, do we measure the frontage credits for every floor of a building when they're representing or when they're applying for a sign permit?
Yes, that's exactly what we do. That's how we achieve the maximum permitted sign size.
Okay. And the two requests tonight are in regard to the hours of operation for the lighting and locating the sign on the side of the building.
No, sorry. To be clear, this sign using, and I can put it back up if that'd be helpful. I can go back to the slide that shows all the math. To reiterate that, using the math per the code, Shift Workspace's sign, because of the measurement of the street frontage, because they occupy 26 feet of ground floor linear frontage and 116 feet 3 inches of second floor frontage and 116 feet 3 inches of third floor frontage, that quantity of linear distance gets divided by 1.5.
Right. So I guess my question then is, it's not just the location of the wall sign, but it's that they're lighting it on the side of the wall.
To be clear, the only question before the board tonight is whether or not this sign can be illuminated at night. That is the one aspect of this sign that does not comply with city code or city design standards.
Okay.
Sorry if that was confusing.
No. Thank you for the clarification. That's very helpful. Sure. I had a couple more questions. Why are we comparing this building to the melting pot? I seem to recall in other cases where we're discussing setbacks that we're not to take into account the properties nearby or even next door when making a determination for setbacks. Is it different for signage?
So the way that the sign code is written, you're correct that a sign size cannot be increased. because of the hardship of a setback. That is the one aspect of the sign that cannot be increased. And so given the math and the size of the proposed sign that Shift Workspaces is proposing, the applicant is requesting a sign that is below the maximum allowable. So they don't need to ask for bigger.
No, I'm not asking about asking for bigger. I'm asking why we're making a comparison to the melting pot.
Because when one experiences the melting pot, an important commercial business for downtown Littleton, it is 10 feet away from the busiest intersection with the most potential consumer eyeballs. And it can easily, with a very modest sign at the first floor level, advertise itself very effectively.
Do they have an hour of operation for the lighting of their sign? Do they have to have their sign off by a certain time?
I don't know.
Is there a citywide code that requires lighted signs on walls to be turned off at any time? There's no.
Nope.
So if there's no requirement for it to be turned off at all, why the ask for this variance?
Because in the Downtown Littleton Design Standards, section Design Standards number 4.2.1 and 4.5.7 both say that should a wall sign that is located on the side of the building and that is located above the second floor, it may not be illuminated at night. It calls out specifically higher elevation signs on the side of buildings and prohibits those in particular. Those are called out in particular in design standards to not be allowed to be illuminated in the evening.
Thank you. And
Sure.
just one question. Are we aware of any other businesses along Main Street right now that have their light on for their sign all night?
Off the top of my head, I would imagine they mostly all do.
So they keep their wall signage on all night? The
I
businesses
am
that do have a
not
sign?
trolling around at 3 a.m. downtown a lot.
Well, I think that's what everyone is kind of asking about, or is what has been thinking, is that if no one's out and about, trolling around in Main Street at 3 a.m., why the ask for an all-night lighted sign if that's going to really attract the business? If Main Street is this vibrant commercial business corridor already without the benefit of having this right now, why do we need it now?
If I may, I'd maybe suggest that the applicant respond to that.
Sounds good. Do we have any other questions from the board for staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to our applicant, Matt Robertson, I believe is our applicant tonight. Does he have capabilities to share his screen with us, or how are we going to be doing this?
Yeah, can everybody hear me this evening?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I do have the capability to share my screen, and I will do that if additional questions or as we get further into this, there's a need to do that. I mean, I think at this point I can answer all these questions with just verbal responses. Might make the most sense to just kind of go backwards in order. Please feel free to stop me or redirect me if need be. So just to be clear, we, my client, who I'm representing, who is unable to be here this evening, which is really a shame. He had surgery yesterday and is not fully recovered. Otherwise, he would not miss this. He plans on being a very significant and contributing member to the community. So I know it pains him to not be here this evening. But so just to be clear, we are not asking for a sign to be illuminated all night. We hadn't distinguished hours. of operation. There's been no distinction of hours of operation on our end because there's, honestly, probably because there's nothing in your design standards that have any limits on hours of operation. So it just never occurred to us that is something that you were interested in hearing. I think, if things progress, we can certainly talk about those hours of operation. We're not specifically asking to have a sign that is lit at hours that other illuminated signs are not within your district. So, I think your other question too, which Elizabeth did a good job answering, was, why are we comparing it to the melting pot? And I appreciate your logic. Let's not compare other properties. Let's talk about the property in question and analyze it with the existing codes and make a decision. I think maybe the one distinction here is that for the hardship component of this, I think, we are asked to present our unique hardship for this particular property. And I think the logical way to present your unique hardship is to compare your property to the surrounding and state the obvious differences. So that was really the logic behind that method. Whether you find that particular line of thought, moving or not. I'll continue on. Again, please stop me if I'm not answering any of these questions fully. I think Mr. Brown had an interesting question as well. It was the one thing that I didn't expect to come up within your conversation. It was one that I hope to add, but it goes back to the issue of intent. All zoning regulations, codes, rules attempt to create a method of operation for all instances. And I think us stating our unique hardship and the fact that this side wall sign does not fall into that prohibited intent of 4.52 and 4.57 has been stated well, and the fact that it, the reason why that is typically prohibited is because of the potential for adjacent disruption to so I think that's been addressed. I think maybe the last item to address was back to the hardship letter, and that was, of course, my client is not here to talk to that, so I will. But I think downtown Littleton, as Ms. Marchetti stated, is a destination. It's certainly a destination that my family and I travel to from Wash Park. We spend evenings there frequently, and I think studies have also shown that responding to this is a business, not a nighttime entertainment destination. This particular project, but I think the resurgence of downtown areas all across the country over the last decade have shown that not only do people want to have entertainment districts to go to, but they want to work within these entertainment districts. Not everyone, certainly, but it is this desire to have all of these different functions and types of entertainment and developments that fulfill all these different needs with various amenities. It is that desire by the public over the last 10 years that has caused this great migration, if you will, of people back to the city. And not only the city, but developments that have brought together all of these different entities, be it housing, business, entertainment, And so, again, we see this sign as a reminder to those traveling on Santa Fe that, hey, downtown Littleton is still here, and there's new spaces and amenities popping up. Come check us out.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Do any of our board members have any questions for our applicant tonight?
Yes, I'd like to ask Mr. Robertson a question. You were talking about hardships with regard to what would or would not be a benefit to say, for example, the community. Tell me what harm if we decided to not grant the variance, what hardship would that impose on you?
Well, I think I don't know, documenting harm for something that hasn't happened is maybe a bit difficult to argue, but I think it's an enormous opportunity for our client to display the use and intent of this business and this structure, the amount of traffic that's on Santa Fe. So to not have the ability to take advantage of that opportunity would certainly not be a wise choice for my client to make. Were it a choice for him to not follow that avenue, he certainly would not, right? You want to get as much exposure as possible, and Santa Fe is the obvious direction.
So what I hear you saying is that it's really pretty much more for the benefit of the company than it is for the community.
I didn't believe that your question was related to the community. Maybe you can restate your question and I'll revise my answer.
Mr. Jenna, are you talking about the hardship that's required of a variance in terms of when we're looking at a sign variance, that we're typically looking at a building or a property that's already difficult to see, and so they would need additional relief from the code to be seen, and that's their hardship, whereas you're asking the applicant tonight what's their...
I think I just lost you there, Mike. I think you're pointing your finger at the right direction. That if we vote against this variance, then the benefit would for the company, and the company is going to see some type of hardship, some type of an investment that's not being really taken advantage of. And so I'm just looking at this from the standpoint of Littleton and Littleton's citizens and downtown Littleton, as to whether or not having this sign lit is a net loss to the community and to the company.
Do any other board members have any questions for our applicant tonight?
I do have a question. So the way I understand the code, that part of what we're trying to vary from is that you want to be on that third level as opposed to being on the second level. Is that correct? Because I think the second level would be okay.
No, part of the request is the ability to have the sign be lit where the sign is located. So the sign is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, that the sign has the ability under the code to be located where it's going to be located. The question is, can it be lit, because of the design standards saying that if it's above the floor level, that it cannot be lit.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a comment, a question. There are, over a period of, this is Dave Mitchell, over a period of years, there's been a lot of comments publicly by citizens, privately by citizens, about signs, clutter. And to me, this is a sign that doesn't fit what the citizens have typically felt they wanted in this area. And so the question is how, well, I'll leave it at that.
Okay, does the board have any questions for the applicant? Okay, seeing none, at this time I will open the public hearing according to my watch at 7:36 p.m. and I will ask Colleen to come back in and help us out with anyone who may be.
Thank you, Chair. We currently have one caller in the queue with their hand raised. Caller with the last 3 digits of 819. You've been unmuted. Please begin speaking now.
And this is Pam Chadbourne. Hi, Board of Adjustment. This is Pam Chadbourne. I live in the downtown district, 3 blocks from this. I sent a letter right at 6:30. It's email. I would like you to look at it. It is astonishing and dismaying to me that there is confusion about the variance here. We have a downtown design that's a historic district, and this has barely come up. I hate hearing this advertising business stuff when you should be considering the impact on the historic district, which is an economic benefit for Littleton. The variance here is that in the downtown, historically, most buildings were 1 or 2 stories. The advertising was all on the main street at the first story because it was pedestrian or vehicle view, and that is the orientation of downtown. It adds to the quality of downtown and it defines the quality of downtown. Our historic guidelines said that the Carnegie Library, it is not the melting pot, guys, for the purposes of this discussion, it's the Carnegie Library is the defining structure on the west end of Main Street. Bookended with the courthouse. It is extraordinary and unique, and very few of these remain. The email that I wrote puts the rest of this. Look, an 11 by 17 paper sign inside doesn't notify anybody. It's appalling. And the older code had a model light ordinance in effect for 10 years. It was repealed. It's not the fault of the code. It's the fault of people meddling with the code that got rid of our lighting ordinance. Listen, first off, I want to refer you to the Downtown Design Standards 4.2, 421. Wall, window, awning, and projecting signs shall not be allowed above the ground floor, except that the HPB, Historic Preservation Board, at its discretion may allow above ground floor signs. Guys, you may not approve this, because Historic Preservation Board has not weighed in, and our Downtown Design Standards 421 require that the HPB consider this. So I think it's over tonight. You've got to get HPB, or you're really not in the right place. Second, you have to assure that 4 requirements are met, and you cannot guarantee that this is in general harmony with the purposes of this chapter, specifically would not be injurious to the neighborhood. The character of the new architecture should complement the existing earliest 20th century buildings without trying to recreate the era. Main Street establishes a historic small town center character with simple and unassuming building architecture and materials, primarily faces Main Street, historic Carnegie Library on the west with strong visual boundaries. A lighted modern advertising sign on a 3-story massive structure does not complement the existing buildings. It contradicts and destroys the historic character of downtown. It is not simple and unassuming. Okay, so look at my email, but you must not act tonight. The least you should do is postpone to a later date after HPB weighs in.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions for
Chair
Pam?
Rid, real quick.
Yes.
We do not have any other callers on the line.
Okay.
But before you close the public hearing, I did want to mention, in addition to the email that Ms. Chadbourne mentioned, we did receive several emails today that have been shared with all board members, several emails in opposition, and those are available for review on our website in the revised packet. I just wanted to make mention of that since those did come in before the meeting.
Great. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Did any of the board members not receive that earlier today, as many of the comments came in late last night and even into today? Okay. Before we close public comment, I'm going to ask our applicant if they'd like to respond to the comments made during the public hearing at this time.
Chair Madrid, I think it would be appropriate to close the public hearing. The applicant would still have an opportunity to respond.
Okay, sounds good. So if we have no other callers, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. So I will now close the public hearing at 7:41 p.m. I think I'll ask for staff or our applicant if they'd like to respond to the comments made during the public hearing prior to the board making a motion and then having their discussion. So would staff want to respond to the comments made during the public hearing?
Thank you, Chairman Madrid. Yes, we did check with our historic preservation planner regarding the need to go to the Historical Preservation Board for a certificate of appropriateness for this sign. We determined that the COA is not necessary for the sign itself being on the side elevation, and typically signs do not go for certificates of appropriateness. So just wanted to clear that up. We did take a look at that issue and determined that it did not need to go there. We did put a condition in the resolution that the facade need to be, if the sign is ever removed or when the sign is removed, the facade needs to be returned to its original condition.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Holland?
Yes, just to clarify, the Historic Preservation Board was not consulted on this because you felt that it wasn't necessary?
No, they were not consulted. They are not consulted on signs.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, with that,
Chairman, Chairman,
yes, Mr. Mitchell.
I'm proposing to make a motion, and then we can discuss the motion.
Absolutely.
Okay. The motion would be: the board finds that the requested variance does not satisfy the criteria as specified in section 10-11-1, parens B, and 11-17-7-11 of the city code, and therefore the board denies the variance requested.
Okay, we have a motion for denial of variance 20-0001 by Mr. Mitchell.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
I'm sorry, did we have a second?
Don Jenna.
Okay, great. So we have a motion by Mr. Mitchell, a second by Mr. Jenna for denial of this variance. Would anyone like to begin discussion of this?
I will.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
I believe, I understand that the business would benefit from the advertising provided. It's not to help locate the business. People that work there obviously know where it is, and their clientele would typically not be visiting from dawn to dusk. So I think it's an advertising that benefits the business. I think that they can project their image in other ways that don't create sign clutter, disturb the precious presence of the historical downtown Littleton, and so that the benefit to the city versus the damage to the city's image is not equal, or it does not justify granting the variance.
I'll just.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
Mike, I think we're losing you.
Mike, you might want to turn off your video and keep your audio on just for now. Sometimes that helps with bandwidth.
All right. Am I good now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just to kind of jump in with my own discussion on this case, looking at the criteria. I'm just going to leave it unmuted just like that. And hopefully that fixes it and I don't cut out. But I'm still looking for a special circumstance or condition that is specific to this structure. This structure, as mentioned in the presentation, is part of a larger main street that we all agree is already vibrant and a very attractive location for a lot of businesses to locate their business. And in looking at this request specifically, in terms of just the sign itself, so just keeping in mind that if they would like to put this sign up and not light it, that they would be able to do so just under a permit without even coming to the Board of Adjustment. We're just looking at whether or not the lighting part is meeting these criteria. And in terms of looking at the four criteria that the three criteria that we have in front of us in the staff report, I don't believe that lighting this sign, having it lit at night that high off the ground, would be in character with the rest of Main Street. I don't believe in criteria number 3 that the variance would be the minimum one necessary to permit the applicant to reasonably draw attention to the business or enterprise. I think we could all agree that a lot of businesses attract plenty of business on Main Street without the benefit of having a lighted sign facing Santa Fe. So I don't think it meets that level of I don't think it meets a threshold to meet the criteria for a variance to be approved. And so I'll just leave it at that for the rest of the board members if they want to jump in and leave it open for discussion at this time with the rest of the board members.
Well, I think
Do any other board members want to join in on the discussion?
Yeah, Mike, I think your comments are well taken. I think that there is no threshold that's been passed on this request that makes it worth a variance.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Browning, Ms. Holland, Ms. Woven, do we have any other discussion before we vote on this motion that's on the table?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Holland?
Yeah, I would just add that the slippery slope, that if we allow this, then what other kind of signs are going to be lit up along the way? And something that was mentioned earlier, that it would be like all the other signs on Santa Fe, but we don't want to be like all the other signs on Santa Fe. We want to be this historical district, and Littleton should be the place that we all love.
Thank you very much, Board Member Holland. Mr. Robertson, did you raise your hand earlier?
It was Mr. Browning.
Oh, Mr. Browning, your camera is not on, so I can't see if you're raising your hand or not. There you are. Mr. Browning.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the discussion quite a bit tonight. And there's part of me that's a little bit torn on this issue. I probably don't feel as strongly as the rest of you with some of the discussion I've heard, but I do truly appreciate the concerns. And as a long-time Littleton resident, I've seen this town change over time, and the vitality is coming back. I do appreciate staff's analysis and the hard work that went into this. Some of the points that were made by staff certainly resonate with me. I've got an understanding of business. I come from a family of small businesses who have tried hard over the years to bring in customers and remain vital and healthy and add to the economy and of course to the character and all those positive features that come into a town. So I truly see both sides of this coin. There's part of me that thinks that because this is facing Santa Fe Drive and really not what I would call the main street, if this lighted sign were 3 stories up on Main Street, it'd be a totally different conversation in my mind. But I just want to kind of point out some of the other sides to it that I probably have a soft spot for, and I do appreciate the applicant bringing this forward. The sign itself doesn't seem all that intrusive. It doesn't feel like there's this huge invasive light from space kind of scenario we're looking at. And, so I'm actually not sure how I'm going to vote right now, but I just wanted to point out that I do have some alternative viewpoints on this matter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Browning. I would also like to echo those considerations for staff's time on this and for the applicant for bringing this forward. You can definitely tell by the staff report and by the applicant sign package, a lot of work went into it, and the city and the Board of Adjustment definitely appreciate when we get quality applications in like this one. So I would also like to echo that as well. Mr. Robertson, you raising your hand?
Point of order. This is a discussion for the board. There's a motion on the floor, and I don't think this is a time for the applicant to make a comment.
I will have a chance to respond to the discussion, though. Yes.
Well, at this time, we do have a motion on the floor already for a denial at this point. The board is discussing this, and at the end of this discussion, the board does vote on the motion that is currently on the table right now. Do any other board members have any other discussion on the motion for denial right now? Seeing none, I will then ask the city clerk to call the vote.
I would ask board members to vote using a thumbs up or a thumbs down. A thumbs up is in favor of denial. A thumbs down would nullify Board Member Mitchell's motion. Go ahead and vote now. Again, a thumbs up is to support denial of the application. I have 4 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion to deny carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Colleen. Just to clarify, for those watching the video stream, we do have 6 board members in attendance tonight. 5 members of the Board of Adjustment do vote. If one of the board members who are on the Board of Adjustment and not an alternate cannot be at the hearing, then the alternate 1 shall vote in their place. And so that's why there was a reading of 4 votes to 1 as opposed to the 2, just to clarify that on the video.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, so the motion will carry. The application has been denied for this variance application. I'd like to thank the applicant and staff for their time on this case. At this time, we will move to our next item on the agenda, which are comments and reports, starting with Community Development Director, but we have our Deputy Director here, Mr. Sutherland. I think you're still muted.
Thanks. I don't know how many meetings like this I've done, and still I can't get the mute to function the way I want it to. So
I totally get it.
Thanks for the discussion tonight. I just wanted to remind all of the board members to visit envisionlittleton.org and take a look at, we've had a great discussion about downtown this evening, and we've got the phase 2 of the downtown code that is open for comment until the end of the month, until July 31st. Please visit the website and take a look at the code. I'd encourage your comments, and hope that all of the board members could do that. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. Thank you.
And thank you very much. Do we have anything from staff? Nothing tonight.
No, thank you.
It sounds great. Thank you for your presentation again tonight. Do any board members have any comments or reports for this evening?
Board Chair.
All right, and
Chair Madrid.
yes.
Could we ask our newest board member just to introduce herself and give us a little bit about her background? Would that be
No, absolutely. I was just about to do that, and extending a warm welcome to our newest board member. Yes, if you could just introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Hi, my name's Carolyn Wolven, and I have been a resident of Littleton for just kind of a short amount of time. I purchased my home 5 years ago, went through a major remodel, so learned a lot about codes and how to work within the structures of Littleton, and I'm thrilled with the results and thrilled to be part of this group. And downtown Littleton's a great place, and I'm really happy that I can be part of it.
Well, thank you so much for your time tonight and for joining the board. And we all really appreciate everyone's time that they choose to spend it here for their city and serving on this Board of Adjustment. Yeah, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
If there's no other business tonight, last minute, thank you all for again for your time and for staff's time and for our applicants' time and for everyone's time here. But we will be adjourned at this time at 7:58 p.m. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night. Thank you.